everybody. It's Brandy and Chrissy, your host of Hella Friends. Welcome back to another episode. Today, we are going to talk about the changes we face as women being over the age of 30. I know. I didn't say over other ages. We're going to stick
over
with
the
30.
age of 30.
Yeah, we're going to stick with 30.
Oh, that's crazy to even think that. We've already bypassed that.
I know.
I can't.
We on the other side of
when
it.
we talked about doing this, it was like I had to wrap my head around the fact that, number one, we've been friends for that long, but number two, that we are on this other side now of our lives. And it's like I can remember clear as day, being 17.
Me too. I feel
18.
Yeah, it's gone by so quick.
So fast. I remember sitting wishing, couldn't wait to be
A grown-up.
18, and then, end up getting pregnant at 18. But then it was like, fast forward, like I felt like I had to do everything like right away,
I think most people do because at least after high school and after college, like you can still play around and kind of be a kid and stuff. But after you're done with school, it's like, oh, what am I supposed to do now?
Yeah.
Like I'm a grown up.
Yeah. I kind of felt that right after I had my daughter. So I did college later in life. I did college when I was in my 30s.
Yeah.
That's what I was doing during that time. But once I, had my daughter, it was like, and I finished school, I went right to work. So I've been working since I was 19.
Me too.
Yeah.
I had summer jobs and stuff when I was younger only because I wanted my own money. But even after I had my son, because I had him at 19, I still had a kid's mentality because my mom was helping me because I was in school.
Yeah.
So it's not like I instantly had to grow up. I still had to take care of him.
Right.
But I also had my mom in the background who was kind of help guiding me and him both.
Yeah. I mean, we wouldn't have gotten very far if we didn't have people that were kind of like, hey, why don't you do this? Go this way.
Because I remember working, being in school, in trade school and in college, and and having a baby. And I woke up one morning and I was getting ready to crack. And I said, I can't do any of this. It's all too hard. And my mom goes, you better get you some coffee and you hustle up.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Right. Because, I mean, what else are you going to do? She's probably like, I'm not taking care of my kid.
Yeah, for no reason.
You better get it together so you could figure it out.
Yeah, and that's exactly, she was like, and she told me that. She's like, as long as you're in school and you're pursuing something, I will help you as much as I can. And she did. Like, I never had to pay for childcare because my mom was always there. So I really didn't grow up until after Jake was born.
Yeah.
Because I was done with school and I had baby number 2 and it was like, okay, here's your life.
Yeah. Yeah. I really didn't grow up either until, because I mean, even though I was working, I was having fun while I was working. Yeah. I'm not going to lie. Like my grandparents were very, very, lenient with me.
Yep.
Because I think they knew, and I've had conversations with my grandmother and my grandfather, but I think they knew that I was missing out on certain things in being young and going out and doing parties and things like that. So I just went out clubbing.
Yeah.
And I partied that way. But they gave me a ton of grace that first, 4 or 5 years of my daughter's life. But I was still working. Like, as long as I was making money and I was saving and I was, providing and doing what I needed to do, they were more than willing to take care of my daughter. So, but yeah, I'm very grateful to be able to at least have that type of experience of, going out and having fun.
Oh yeah. I don't think I stopped like really going out till I hit 30.
Really? Well, I was already married and had another kid by then, or like going to.
And I do.
Oh, no, I already had her. Sorry.
Yeah, I remember like on my 30th birthday, because I had already got my townhouse and I had my career and I had my kids and everything. And I remember it hit me like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
30 did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, ding, ding, ding. You are not a young person anymore. You are 30.
Yeah.
And I remember crying on my birthday. I was like, oh my God, what is this? And my girlfriend, she was like, why are you sad? Like, you've pretty much done everything you're supposed to do by the time you're 30. Like, I don't see what you're missing out on. Like, I don't get it. And I was like, I'm 30 now.
Do you feel, knowing what age that we are now, do you feel your age?
Hell
do you
no.
feel like you've aged?
No, because like honestly, deep down, I know that I've aged and I've matured quite a bit. But to be honest, I still feel 17 in the like most of the time. I still feel like 17-year-old Brandy. I'm still very carefree, and I still have the same personality and stuff. Have I gone through some stuff? God, yes.
Who hasn't? Right. Yeah.
Even at 17, I was going through some stuff that defined me as a person. But, looking back, it's been like 3 decades that we've been friends, and it doesn't feel like that at all. Like,
yeah.
I like sitting here with you is like we're still sitting in art class, like talking to each other. So
right.
I still feel that way.
Yeah.
And it's weird, but I know time has passed.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to call Eric out because I can, but I hadn't seen him for a very long time. I mean, he's got social and he'll post, himself occasionally, like on birthdays or whatever. But I think it hit me when I saw the gray in his beard. It's things like that where I'm just kind of like looking at other, people that we know, and then it's like you see it, then
you see the age on them.
Yeah, and just how much everybody has grown, and it's like sometimes I'm going, I don't want to conform. I don't want to. I just don't.
Don't own up to that?
I don't,
I think that our whole generation doesn't own up to that, though.
I don't know. There are some where I'm just kind of like khakis and a polo. No, thanks.
I don't think I hang out with anybody that looks like that. Honestly, I think I steer clear of people who like try to fit in that middle-aged box and bubble.
Because essentially that's what we are, right?
Yeah, but I don't. Like, I know good. I'm middle-aged. I know it. Like, there's times when, physical activity that I used to, like, not think about.
Like climbing upstairs.
Yeah, or, like, sitting on the floor for a long duration of time.
Yeah.
Because I love sitting on the floor.
Oh, yeah.
And I used to be really good at it. I could do it for several hours.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, all right, I got to figure out how to get up from here.
Right. And still look like you're all right.
Yeah. And let it be graceful and not let me topple over.
Right. Right. Without even not needing any help would be perfect.
So.
That's hilarious.
I'm serious, though.
I know. I'm with you 100. Like, within this last couple of years, I feel like my whole body just kind of went, oh, no.
Yeah.
Chick, you're not 17, 18 anymore.
And I'm going to tell on myself. So once you get older, you can't hold your bladder nearly as long as you used to.
Hey, you've had 2 kids.
True.
Okay.
And a hysterectomy. But so,
just saying,
getting up at 2:00 in the morning, it's honestly a hassle. It's, you have to pee. So you have to go. And I got up one morning. And I've mastered the art of not opening my eyes.
Sure. Right. You do it in the dark.
All my furniture is. I know how to close the door, open the door. I know how to get to the toilet.
Yep.
This one particular night, though, for some reason, I was off by a step.
Oh, no.
And I got kind of dizzy. And I fell flat on my ass in between the basin and the toilet.
Oh, geez.
And not only was I mad at myself, but I was also mad at my husband because he didn't hear any of this.
He slept through it.
Yes. He didn't hear. And I was hurt. I was really hurt.
You were? Oh my God.
And so that's how I know, like, I'm older now. Because 17-year-old me would not have skipped a beat doing that. But this age Brandy was just like, okay, you go on the floor now.
You just succumb to it. Yeah. You're just like, there's no fighting. You'd probably hurt yourself more trying to fight the fall than just actually just falling at this point.
Yeah. And then the bad part was my husband goes, oh, you fall a lot now. And I was just like,
great. Thanks. Thanks, babe.
Don't point it out.
Right. Right.
Like, I don't need you to point it out. Just say, oh, I'm so sorry. Are you okay?
Right. Just something as simple as that. Yes. No, you need to be humbled, I guess. You need to stay humbled.
I don't want to stay humbled. I want him to be like.
You want to be all right.
Yeah. Don't tell my age. Just be. Don't talk about me like that.
That's hilarious.
Do you think you've gained knowledge by being older?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. I definitely feel like, what were you thinking?
I don't know so much. Well, I guess it would be knowledge because.
What else are you going to gain by growing older? Knowledge, wisdom.
I mean, there's some people that don't gain a whole lot of anything getting older.
Those are some people.
Yeah.
I strive on learning. I strive on, doing better. Always doing better. Always going forward, doing better.
I think the thing that I've learned the most in getting older is how to navigate myself with other people.
Sure. I understand that.
Because younger me was kind of naive and very sheltered when it came to like dealing with old different people in social settings. And this Brandy, this stage of Brandy, I kind of got the I don't give a fuck face.
Right. You've crossed that.
There's a threshold.
You've crossed that threshold.
Yes.
Already.
Yes. I really don't give a fuck anymore.
Yeah.
People, I don't like her. I don't care.
Yeah. I'm getting there. I was very much a people pleaser growing up, I think. I also was very much, I had to be aware of what other people were thinking of me. And it took a lot to process sometimes because sometimes I was labeled things that I knew I wasn't. But then it becomes almost this narrative where I just was like tired of fighting. So it was like, well, if you're just going to think of it, then just think of it.
Yeah, I didn't care. I got labeled too. Looking back now, the people that labeled me are also the people who kind of transitioned into doing some of the stuff that I was doing. I was just living my truth and they were not.
Yeah.
And so I feel like they were just kind of jealous of that aspect of me.
Yeah.
So I don't think that was something that was necessarily knowledgeable that I learned through the years. It was just me embracing me, who I am.
Sure.
I've learned patience is really a virtue and one that I do not possess. I'm not a patient person at all. I'm working on it.
Yeah.
I am. I'm working on it. But that is not something I have. I married someone who is very, very patient. And so I kind of look to him for those kind of cues as to not to go from 0 to 900 in 30 seconds. So I like me, I'm still constantly learning different things about me and the people around me. Do I know more now? Maybe a little bit. But I think...
Do you know more? What do you mean, do I know more? In what aspect? Do you know more about yourself, more about the world, more about what?
I definitely know more about the world.
Yeah.
Because when you're a young person, your world is pretty much the people you hang around. And it's not expanded to the rest of the world. Like, there was stuff going on when we were young people. Did it affect us? Not like stuff affects us now.
Yeah.
It really doesn't. And then certain things that affect us when we were younger, you kind of shrug off. You know, like certain things that happen with celebrities and stuff, it really impacted us when we were younger because those were people we looked up to. Now, you know, there's a bunch of stuff going on with the celebrity right now in the news, and I'm just like, I'm tired of hearing about this shit next.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's just with the evolve of time, right? Our priorities change.
Yes.
Our outcome or outlook in life changes, right? Because we are in a sense so sheltered when we're growing up. So it's kind of like, you know, we have our immediate family, and then we have our friends, and then we have the outside world. And trying to navigate through all of that. Younger, you're just trying to look for somebody to accept you and, you know, follow through with accepting you for who you are. And then fighting the ones that don't want to because they're jealous, or don't want to just because they don't like you, or whatever the case may be. But then it's kind of like when you get older, you do get to a point where it's kind of like, I don't really care what you think. I'm just going to go ahead and do what I need to do. And then stories of celebrities and people that are they're just humans. It's like the world created them to be, you know, superior than us, when in fact they're not.
I think when you live in the limelight, or it's same thing like in high school, when you want to be popular, people talk about you, and that just filters into the rest of the world.
Right.
So like when I look at celebrity, that's exactly what I look like. I'm like, oh, okay, those were the people in high school that everybody used to talk about. So that's what the world is doing. In this stage in my life, I'm just like, get over it.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot more important things happening.
Yes. Like, who cares?
Who cares? We won't call anybody out, but
no,
who cares?
Who cares? You know, okay, you fucked up. Next.
Right.
There's some other people in the world that have fucked up too.
Yeah. Exactly.
The last time I checked, this is not impacting anything that I'm doing today.
No, and if it's impacting you, then
something's wrong.
Something's wrong. We need to figure out what's going on.
Something's wrong with you.
Life. You kind of touched a little bit on like your physical aspect of falling, but I mean, do you in a sense? It's crazy how much we have changed and how things change physically, because it's kind of like, I think it goes hand in hand with whatever hereditary things that might happen to you that you kind of swear it's never going to happen when you're younger. And then it's like, no, you're pretty set for having that because your aunt had it, your grandmother had it, your sister has it, whatever the case may be. But it's kind of like you feel so invincible when you're younger, and that you can just do whatever you want. There's not going to be any repercussions until you turn a certain age. And then it's kind of like, oh yeah.
And then it's all downhill. So I think my whole thing with like physical changes, especially now when I look at my body now, because I've gained weight and I've lost weight, and I've gained a lot of weight and I've lost weight. And it had nothing to do with what I was eating or my exercise.
Yeah.
Mine had everything to do with a hormonal imbalance.
Yes. Right.
And I used to tell myself when I was younger, I am never going to be fat.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I got fat. And I did literally everything right. Everything. And I still got fat. And I thought about that, and I was like, this is the worst thing to ever happen to a woman, especially one who never wanted to gain any weight. With that being said, I weighed like 94 pounds even after I had 2 kids. So when I gained over 200 pounds, that was really hard for me. I could not look at myself in the mirror. It had to be dark during sex. I did not wear tight clothing at all. It was one of those things to where I didn't feel like myself in my own body. And when you get older and you start to feel like that, that's an awful, awful way to feel. And of course, when you get older, it's harder to get weight off because you don't have a metabolism anymore. So my physical change was like a whole actual physical, like not so much gray hair, because I literally just found my first gray hair last year. and not like wrinkles or anything. None of that. It was the weight gain for me. And I couldn't get it off. Like younger Brandy, okay, I'm just not going to eat certain things for about a week. I can lose 10, 15 pounds. Older Brandy, who had been pushed into medical menopause, it was just like, yeah, sis, this weight just is here. It's like, hey, what's up?
Yeah. Yeah, that happens.
So, like the physical change, it was, and it still is, it is very hard for me. Because I look in the mirror and I'm like, things are not as perky as they used to be. I'm like, how do you reverse this? And you really can't. It's just a sign of age. And I'm trying to get to the point to where I'm embracing it, because I'm just like, these are not 20-year-old titties no more.
Right. Yeah.
They're just not. They're not. They're never going to be 20-year-old titties no more. They got some miles on them.
Right.
So love them for what they are.
Right. Yeah. I mean, even after I had, my first daughter, I knew going in, because I learned that it was hereditary, that stretch marks were going to happen.
Yeah.
So even physical changes, even at 18, and then seeing your body change in that aspect, 18-year-old Chrissy was like, whatever, it is what it is. Then I had my second one, and then it was kind of like, okay, I knew it was already going to happen. And truthfully, because I was married during that time, I didn't even realize like the physical changes that were happening to my body. And I was going through medical things too with my thyroid. And I also, I had a hysterectomy, but thrown into medical menopause. And then just being so comfortable in a relationship that I literally lost myself. And it took a point where like I didn't want to take pictures unless I did it. And it had to have a filter. It had to have like all of these things. And I think once I hit 42, that was when I think I had saw a picture of myself and I didn't even recognize who that person was.
Yeah, I've been there.
And it's scary because my whole background was modeling. My whole background was looking my best at all times. And I was so upset with myself because I felt, it was weird because it's like I felt good, but I didn't even realize how I looked. I didn't even know who that person was. And it was at that point, at 42, I was just kind of like, I need to get my life back. And I think that was kind of like the trigger of okay, I need to make some serious life-changing decisions because where I'm at, it's not healthy.
Where you want to go.
Well, it's not healthy. Like, it's not healthy mentally. It's not healthy physically. Some changes have to be made. And that was really hard for me to see that person that I didn't even know.
Yeah. I knew who I was. It was just really hard looking in the mirror.
Yeah.
It was really, really hard. And it took a lot to kind of embrace.
Well, you said that you know who you were, like, but knowing who you were, did it affect you negatively to look in the mirror and then see that person and know that that's not who you are? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, that's where I was like, it's like in my brain, I think I just thought I looked a certain way.
Yeah.
And that's who I know myself to be. Okay? But then when you see it, you're just kind of like, who is the stranger in front of me? Like, that's the part that I don't know who you are.
So I did take pictures during that period of time. And I actually, it was maybe a week ago, and I went back and I was looking at, like a timeline of certain years and stuff. And it's weird because my weight would do this, and then it 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 went here, and it looked kind of plateaued. And that's when it plateaued at that point. I said, okay, and I can honestly say I was so depressed in my life. I knew that was like not an okay place to be. And I was on a whole bunch of antidepressants. There was a lot going on. And it took kind of a tipping point to say, hey, either you're going to end up being a diabetic or you're going to have a heart attack because my blood pressure was so high. And then my endocrinologist was like, your levels are not going to even out because of your weight. And I did. I had to take some kind of drastic measures to get it off. But once I did, I had been heavy for so long, I kept seeing myself as the heavier form. And I still do. It's been over a year. I still see myself much larger than what I am. And even people who haven't seen me in years, they're like, oh my God, you're tiny. I'm like, where? Who are you talking about? No. Because that over 200 Brandy's still stuck in there. Do you think these are the best years of our lives, or are they yet to come?
Oh, Brandy, I don't know. Because where I'm at right now, this is not the best year of my these are not the best years of my life. I will be completely honest. I can only hope the best is yet to come. I do feel like the best is yet to come, but I also feel like there was a moment in my life when I was younger that those were kind of like
the best ones.
The best ones. Yeah.
Mine are like right now. I've come through a lot. A lot as a young person, a lot as a young adult, a lot as a parent. And where I'm at in my middle age life is very steady and very even keel. Now, granted, not everything is perfect around me. I still have a lot of stuff going on in the background, but my life and the path that I've set forth for me, it's pretty great. Like I like where I'm at right now. I like that I have the freedom to like get up and go do things that I want to do. I like where I am financially. I like, not so much my location in life, because I'd rather not still be in the state of Texas because I'm not from here. But I feel like the pieces of who you are supposed to be in middle-agedness are kind of there. And so I'm able to enjoy the other things that I'm supposed to enjoy. Like just sitting outside in my hammock and not have to like worry about the light bills due.
Yeah.
Is my check going to be short this week because the light bill's due? So I think these are kind of like some really good years because at least for me, I'm inching closer to like retiring before too long. And in my writing career, it's starting to really pay off to where I can kind of like sit down and not have to worry about constantly going to work. So at least for me, like, my 40s have been amazing. My 20s and my 30s, my 20s were really cool. I'm not gonna lie, they were really cool years. My 30s were kind of a teeter-totter because I was growing into being that adult version of me. The older I get and the more I'm less caring about the things around me, the better the years will be. And I think that's why youth is so hard, because you really do care about those social settings. And once you hit middle-agedness, you're kind of like, I don't really have to be your friend.
Yeah. Yeah. You can be a little bit more selective in who you have. Yeah, I mean, I was comfortable where I was, but I can recall certain moments where, like I would sit out in the backyard of my home and, just be grateful to not have to work and, be a stay-at-home mom. But all of that comes at a price.
Yeah.
It's like there are certain things that you just grow accustomed to be, and then it becomes just a way of life. And then before you know it, it's just kind of like, this is not good. This is not healthy. This is not the way it's supposed to be. So, it is different for me because we're the stage that you kind of are right now, just settled in your marriage and with your partner, and you have each other's back. That's where I was, 10 years ago.
Ours is different though, because we both have totally separate careers.
Well, for sure.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, it's like, even though I had the ability to stay at home, I still, struggled with being a parent and dealing with everything that was going on with that. And
I did that too.
Right.
It was just a different kind of journey.
Sure. Yeah. But now in this season in my life is completely different. So I can only hope that the best is yet to come for me personally because of everything that I've already been through.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I kind of look at it like this too. Life is a choose your own adventure book. It really is. If anybody's ever read those books, it is just a series of different stories to where you go left or you go right. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it didn't matter what road I was on, my road was always going to end to where I am right now, because I pretty much manifested where I am right now. Not so much the person I'm married to or even being married or anything like that. It was just career-wise and like mentally, this is where I wanted to be. Oops. Mm-hmm. So that's why literally these are the best years of my life. Not so much, it has nothing to do with like my marriage or anything like that. It is the foundation of who I am and where I worked through.
Yeah, but your marriage and your partner contributes to all of that.
A little bit.
To ensure that security that you're able to have those types of
a little bit, because feelings. I had, so financially and stuff, yes, it's better to have two people versus one. But I did that by myself for so long. So whether or not he's there or not, it wouldn't have made a difference. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but at the same time, once you make that commitment to somebody, then now y'all become one, because that's the whole purpose of a marriage.
Yeah, we're a partnership, but I'm not so sank into my partner to where I'm not my own person. Like our marriage is not like what you would think as a quasi-traditional marriage is. Our marriage is a partnership in every aspect, which I think that is how marriage is supposed to be. I don't shift who I am for Jeremy. He doesn't shift who he is for me. We're just in agreement as this is this person, this is this person. I do tons of stuff without him. Like without him. Is he my partner? Yes. Does he stand by me? Absolutely. Do I veer from who I am in my core and all that stuff? Mm-mm.
Well, you shouldn't have to, because he accepts you for who you are.
And so him coming into my life only made it better. It didn't change anything. It literally just made it better, because instead of there just being one person, there's two people. And so when crummy things happen to me, I have him on my side to kind of help through that. That's what makes it better for me. I'm not standing by myself. It's nice to have a partner, but I think, because I didn't get married till Josh was 17, so I don't think it was something that I was missing out on. It was just nice to be able to have kind of like your best friend to be in the house with you and to do things and to laugh and giggle and, to bounce stuff back and forth with. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But did it concrete where I am in life right now? Mm-mm. It made it better. It did. Because now I have somebody to travel with versus doing stuff on my own. Now I have somebody that said, hey, I'm short like $60. You got $60? Stuff like that. But as far as like your life journey, it shouldn't be focused on like your kids or your spouse. That's my belief. I don't think that's how life is supposed to work. My mother says all the time, I devoted my entire life to my children. That is not what life is about, at least not to me. Mm-hmm. You give them life. They're their own people. They're free agents. They have their own way of living, their own way of thinking. Yes, you're supposed to take care of them and support them. You're not supposed to devote who you are to other people. And I think that, at least for me, that's why I'm at a point in my life to where I'm like, I'm very secure and very happy. My life's not devoted to them wholly. Granted, they're part of it. Mm-hmm. But like my mental well-being comes first. Because if I'm not okay, I guarantee you the people that I love and care about and that I take care of won't be okay.
How have your physical changes impacted how you see yourself?
Right now, I'm still not okay with how I see myself. Mm. I still struggle with certain things. Like I look in the mirror and I see, because, once you have hormonal issues, you hit perimenopause, God forbid, you start seeing like little rogue hairs on your chin. And you're like, what the hell is that?
That's all you. That's not me. Not yet. Oh.
So, you see those, and I will never forget when I saw my first gray hair, and I was looking in the mirror, and I'm like, is that blonde? Is that, has the light changed? And it wasn't really gray. It was like this real pretty copper. Mm. And it was the color my hair was when I was a kid, and I was like, I don't know what that is. And I didn't pluck it. I went and got a flashlight because I wasn't sure
what it was.
Yes. And I got the flashlight, and I had the light on in the bathroom all the way up. And I got this flashlight and I'm shining it down in my head. And I'm like, I think that's gray. I think it is. And I went and grabbed my husband. I was like, what's that? And he's like, it's a hair. I was like, but what color is it?
Yeah.
And he goes, I think that is a gray hair. And I was like, are there some more up there?
Yeah.
He goes, no. I was like, are you sure it's gray? He's like, uh-huh. And part of me was happy because I was like, I've arrived.
Mm-hmm. Lucky for you.
I know. And then it went away. And I didn't pluck it or anything. I just didn't see it anymore. And I was like, okay, maybe my mind is playing tricks on me. Mm-hmm. So, my physical changes are kind of weird. It's like sometimes I'm happy that my body is looking older. And sometimes I'm like, no, that ain't right.
Yeah. No, I don't like that my body's looking older. But I mean, I've been fighting gray hair since I was probably in my 30s. My hairstylist, shout out to Amanda. She's freaking amazing. But she does not hesitate letting me know exactly how much gray I have all over my head, not just in the areas I can see. But it's hereditary in my family to gray early. My aunt, she started graying in her 20s.
Really?
My oldest is already graying.
Really?
Yep. So, yeah. So consider yourself lucky.
Okay, here's the weird thing. My mom's 81. Most of her hair is not gray. Mm. She's got a few grays, not many. My grandma, when she died, was 99. Mm-hmm. She didn't have very many grays either.
See, it's hereditary. So consider yourself lucky, Brandy. I mean, there's ways of taking care of it, but it can get quite expensive. Definitely can get quite expensive if you don't want to embrace it. And I'm definitely not at that moment where I want to embrace it.
But here's the weird thing. My son has gray hair.
Yeah. Well, it could be on his dad's side.
Yeah, but his dad didn't have any.
It could have been somewhere down the lineage.
It's weird because
or he just has a lot of stress, more stress than you.
Which I highly doubt. Which is why I think I should have a hair full of, it should be all white.
It should be all white.
But it is not. And I said something to my mom about that. I was like, do you realize the crap that I've gone through since 12, honestly? And she was like, well, you just handle stress really well. And I was like, is that why my blood pressure is 200 over 200 most days?
Yeah. Exactly.
from
you
what
internalize it.
From what
internalize
I'm
everything.
seeing, this is not handling at all.
You'd much rather trade high blood pressure for gray hair?
Yeah, I
any
do.
day.
Go back and prepare your younger self for now. What would you say?
That's a good question. I would probably tell my younger self, listen to your grandfather. Just because he every single time I was with him, he would always say, read your Bible. Read your Bible. Read your Bible. It's like embedded in my head. So I would definitely tell my younger self, hey, he's right. You need to read your Bible. Because I'm almost 100% certain that the choices that I've made would be totally different.
Probably.
Had I been in the Word and had I had a stronger relationship with the Lord. So that is absolutely 100% something that I would tell my younger self. I feel like that is more of a roadmap and guide to life and whatever questions that you have. And it's only something that I'm learning now. Just within this last year, it's kind of like I felt like I was being like convicted, like hands down convicted, especially within this last year, that you got to get your life right. You have to get your mind right. You have to, if you're going to go into this new chapter, you cannot go into it the way that you were. You have to be different. And the only way you can be different is if you have a relationship with Jesus Christ. And that's exactly what I'm striving to do and striving to have. So that is something that I would 100% tell my younger self. Listen to your grandfather. Listen to Papa. He knows what he's talking about.
Faith is always tricky with me because of the way I was raised.
Sure. I understand.
So I have lots of, it's not so much I don't have faith. I have a lot of it. I'm just, my beliefs are different than how I was raised. 100% on both sides, because both my sides were different.
Yeah. Right.
So I do have a lot of faith, and I think that's oftentimes what kind of pushed me through certain things. But if I could tell my younger self anything, if I could go back and say to 17-year-old Brandy, I would say, do not listen to other people. Because oftentimes when I was younger, I would listen to things other people would say at their suggestion very strongly. And oftentimes it was someone who was Christian based. And
see, and that's tricky too, because Christian in itself is so manipulated right now, and even back then. So I apologize for interrupting you, but it just frustrates me because I know exactly what you're saying.
So for me, it would be, do not listen to other people. Their advice is honestly just their opinion. Listen to yourself, listen to your heart, because it took me a long time to kind of trust myself and the decisions that I wanted to make. But once I did and not listen to other people, the world started opening up for me vastly. And, I was able to pinpoint my actual career and where I did want to live and just different aspects of my life without listening to other people and being kind of pigeonholed into what they thought I should do or how they thought I should behave and act. Because for a long time I did. I kind of stayed in that little realm. So I would tell myself that. Do not listen to other people. Listen to yourself. Listen to your heart. You know who you are deep down. so you don't have to listen to the things other people say. Because I stayed in a really bad relationship a long time at the suggestion of someone, all because I had a child with this person. That wasn't the best thing for me. And so if I could go back and trade some of those years, I absolutely would.
Yeah.
I would.
Do you think that there was any red flags in that relationship?
Oh, God, yes.
Okay. I'm just saying, sometimes the signs are there, whether or not we choose to
But when
see
you're
them.
young, you don't really know what red flags are. You know?
I mean, there's a gut feeling.
Yeah, but
but I just think that we're so what is the word I'm looking for? Maybe naive. I know that's not the word, but to move this along, I feel like we're just so naive, and we're not in a place to be like, yes, I see the red flags, and I'm going to own up to those red flags, and I'm going to make another decision, So I think that it's there.
Yeah, I mean, there were lots of red flags because I even said, this is not the person for me. And the advice I got was, a piece of man is better than no man at all. And like, hindsight is 20/20, hands down, no doubt. That piece of a man was not even a piece of a man.
Right.
And to this day is not. So I would absolutely say there were red flags. And I saw them, and there was things about this person I really didn't like, and they didn't like me. Like, I was in a relationship with someone who did not like me. But I stayed because I was young. So I would tell myself, don't listen to things other people say. Nope.
Yeah, I mean, you can hear what they have to say, but if it doesn't resonate with you, and if you don't feel like it's the right thing to do, then you just brush it off, and you have to make the decisions for yourself.
Oh yeah, I mean, you fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. So it was a learning experience.
Oh, for sure. It all is. You said something that you would tell your younger self. You know who you are deep down inside. Did you at 17 know who you were deep down inside?
I did. I did. I knew who I was, but I was also very stifled with who I was. And that, at least for me, that hurt me in my 20s, because when you're stifled as a kid, especially growing up in a very deep religious household, when you're able to make your own decisions, a lot of times you make the wrong ones. Even though you have certain things instilled in you, you lose it. You go all the way left.
Right. You challenge. It's almost like a challenge.
It's a fight. It's an internal fight.
You challenge it.
It's an internal fight. So I did know who I was, but I wasn't allowed to show who I was until I got away from that. And even when I got away from it, I still struggled with trying to own up to, this is how I really feel. Because you always want to go back to say, oh no, this is what I was taught. This is the way that I'm supposed to act. And so I want to say I was like 26 when I was like, okay, I know who I am. I really do. I know who I am. I have always had these convictions. I've always had these certain beliefs. I am going to stop just cold turkey dealing and listening to other people when it comes to my life. So yeah, I did. And most people don't know who they are when they're that young. I did. And I think I did because I had gone through some very real situations, and it kind of forced me to say, where do you see yourself? Because at 17, I had already had to go to therapy and stuff to kind of deal with some emotional stuff. And that was one of the things. Where do you see yourself? Like, how do you see yourself progressing? How do you see yourself healing from this? And I knew what I wanted. And it's exactly where I am right now in life. It took me a while to figure out how to get there. Most young people don't know that. It's a bob and weave. You're learning on the road of life. And even sometimes when you're a middle-aged person, you still don't know that. I think it takes a lot to do the work internally to kind of get there.
For sure.
So, yeah, I knew who I was, And
I only asked that because I don't even, I mean, I guess I, to a certain extent, know who I was at 17. But I also didn't even know who I was at 17. So that's why I was asking the question.
So at least for me, I felt like my life had a detour when I had my kids because I set myself on the path to be where I am now, but I had kids, and so it made me have to take a detour.
Gotcha.
For a while.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Sure.
I think with me having my sons, it made me a better person. I also think that it gave me a lot more depth in what it is I'm pursuing now. But I had to take a slight detour.
I think everybody has a detour in their life.
Yeah.
Or at least they can go back and say, okay, that definitely was a detour, but now we're back on track again. Because, I know where my detour was.
Mm-hmm. And so, and it took me a minute. And I honestly, when my sons moved out and I had like the whole empty nest syndrome, I sat down and I was like, I don't know what to do now. Because you spend 2 decades of your life raising people and all your focus is, I got to get them grown and I got to make sure they're okay. And I got to make sure they're fed and they go to the doctor and the dentist and they get good grades in school. And then I also had a career and I was working on my, there was a lot of stuff I was doing. And then once they got to be adults and I was at a place in my career where I didn't have to work as hard as I had been working in the past, I sat down and I said, I don't know what to do now because I had been on this detour for so long. And my kids both said, what did you want to do before we were here?
Yeah, they just reminded you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, this is what I wanted to do. And they said, do that.
Yeah.
And so that was like an eye-opening. It was like, okay, so I have been on a slight detour. But it, just because you're on a detour doesn't mean you can't get back on the road you were supposed to be on.
100%.
And that's where I'm at in my life now. It's like, okay, this is the path I set out to be on, and I just kind of had to, I had to bust a U.
Yeah. That's funny.
I had to bust a U real quick.
What major changes have happened to you since being older?
Let's see. Major changes. I think the major changes that I've honestly had was coming to grips with my children being grown. Like actually coming to grips with that. Like, that they're grown-ups, but to come to grips with, like, these are not even teenagers. These are grown men.
Yeah.
And I have one that's getting closer to 30 than anything. So, like, coming to grips with, they take care of them. They're their own people. They take care of themselves. I don't need to tell them to lock the door when they walk out of the house.
Yeah.
That was hard for me. And being an empty nester was really hard for me. So that was a huge major change, which I didn't think that I was going to feel that way until it happened. Especially being a single mom for so long, you're like, okay, we're going to do this till you're 18. We're going to do this till you're 18. And then once they finally hit 18, and mine stayed back with me for a while, and they left abruptly, it was like, okay, I'm 22, I'm out. I was like, huh? So that was really hard for me. I think the hardest was the fact in knowing I could not have any more children. That was the gut-wrenching one. Because that was the one that was like, I am not young no more.
Yeah.
There will be no more babies. There will be no more period.
That part is great.
Well, I still have issues with mine, but that was hard for me because I kind of mourned the fact that I was no longer of an age and I no longer had the pieces to create a human being. That was really hard for me. It was actually kind of devastating because I kind of felt like I'm not going to go through menopause and any of that stuff until I'm like 55. And I was
surprised,
much younger than that.
Yeah.
And I have a sibling that is 57 who's going through menopause and 162 going through menopause. And I'm just like, oh, guess what? I'm done.
Yeah.
So that was hard for me. In most of the other changes that I've gone through have been typical to growing older, like losing people in death and stuff. Now that I'm an older person, I know that that's going to happen because we don't live forever. And so I'm able to cope with that better. Most of the other stuff, it comes with the territory at this point. So I think my biggest one was just knowing I could no longer create a human being. It was hard.
Okay.
It was for me.
I know. I mean, because I also had to have a hysterectomy, but I don't think I've fully comprehended like that part of it.
See, I was younger too, because I was 33.
Yeah, I was probably 36 when I had mine. But now my biggest thing is separation. So I was married for 18 years. I don't know. I stopped counting. But I've been we've known each other for close to 22 years, which is half my life.
Yep.
And so when I had my hysterectomy, at that point in my life, I was settled. And it was like,
yeah.
We have our daughter, we're fine. And now, separated, going through divorce. And now is when it's kind of like, it's scary.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. Because now I'm left with, I can't have any more kids. So where does that fit in somebody else's journey?
But would you want to have some more?
No.
Okay.
No, not at all. Just because I've been there, done that.
Yeah.
I'm good. I also understand that, depending on what happens and whoever is brought into my life is going to have to understand that that's a part of me that I can't provide for that.
That's why with me, because I didn't get married till I was 37.
Yeah.
And I'm 5 years older than my husband. And it was just like, shit.
Yeah.
I really hope you don't want no kid.
Right. Exactly. So it's just another thing that I really hadn't thought of until recently, until, you're put in that situation where it's like, oh, okay, if I am going to venture out into this, dating world later in life, not right now, what are, that is something that is going to have to be taken into account for to a certain extent, depending on where that other person is in their life. So, I don't know. I understand it.
Yeah.
I understand it now, whereas before I didn't.
Yeah, it sucks. It was, yeah.
But I'll ask you the same question. Do you really want to have another kid?
So when I got married, yes.
You did?
Yes.
Well, you were still...
that part.
Yeah.
So yes, I did. Yeah. I did.
Yeah.
I did.
I mean, not saying that you can't have them older, but...
So yes, I did because I wanted one with him.
Sure.
And I felt like he was young enough to where he actually needed to have one of his own. Mm. Did it happen? No. Is it going to happen? No. And so, there's part of me that mourns that because, only thing I can do is keep adopting dogs. And it's not the same caliber, but I
mean, it kind of is especially if you do puppies. you can have that whole experience.
So that's
if you do a
that's
puppy.
where we're at in our lives, and he says he's not missing out on it, and he's okay, and I have to take him at his word, but I do feel like. As a wife, I probably should have given him a child. And I'm just like, I got you another dog, baby.
Let me just give you a kid. Let me birth one for you. No.
And we talked about possibly doing a surrogate. And I was like, well, my sisters are older. They're not really going to be physically capable of carrying a baby.
Well, you would want, that reminds me of that episode of Modern Family. You would want your sister to carry your baby?
I mean, one of them.
Your sister aunt, your mom aunt, mont, I think is what they said in Modern Family.
So, it was one of those things we tossed it around for a minute, and then it promptly left because it wasn't feasible for our lives.
Yeah.
And he also reminded me of something else. He was like, you know how much you love to go out the country? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, if we had a baby, we would not be doing that. And I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
And he's like, and you know how much you love your little sports car? And I was like, yeah. He's like, you think you putting car seats in there?
Hey, I did.
I did too.
I did.
And so I reminded him of that.
That can be done. So that wasn't a very good argument.
I reminded him of that.
That can be done.
And then I was like, do you realize I've been driving a little sports car since before I met you? And I had 2 car seats in the back. And
That's
so
funny.
he was like, yeah, I don't think you, at this point in your life, do you really want to be lugging one in and out in the stroller and all that stuff? And he's like, and every time we have to leave, I was like,
Yeah, it's the same for getting another dog. It's like you do realize that you're going to have to have pet sitters, and you have to get all that if you.
But the cool thing about a dog is you could board them.
Well, sure, you can board, but I'm just saying you'd have to board. You'd have to, so, it is still responsibility.
Yeah.
I think my Ranger, he costs more than my youngest. So there's also that. They're most expensive.
I do have 3 dogs, and so I'm very.
And yours are senior dogs. Some of yours are senior dogs.
One that's a senior, and I have 2. I have one that's 3, and I have a 4-month-old dog. And these dogs cost us so much money.
Absolutely.
And so I was looking at it, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure at this point in our lives, these dogs cost more than a toddler.
Absolutely. Oh, they do. Yeah, we spent more on Ranger in 2 years because he had to have 2 ACL replacements.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So
it's too much.
And granted, children are incredibly expensive, but the markup on a pet
is unremarkable.
So
you pick and choose your battles.
I do. So I'm just
pick and choose your
I'm just
children.
We just gonna keep kicking out with these fur babies and not get a live one.
You'll just wait for your other ones to produce live ones.
Yeah. So
you wait for your offspring to produce more offspring.
Yeah, and I'm not
for
really,
you to enjoy.
I don't think I'm gonna enjoy that either. But all right, guys.
That's a whole nother.
I know.
A whole nother thing.
I think that's our episode this week. Thank you all for tuning in again.
Thank you.
Please make sure to check out all of our social media. Click the QR code, though. It'll take you to everything.
Everything. And one that's been flashing on the bottom every now and then. It'll take you to our website, and our website has all of that for you. But,
So you guys can always stay connected to us. We will check you out later. And remember, life be lifing.
Sometimes.